Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to ICR. As you guys see, we already have the Independent Creator Awards up there. ICR is back to you. It's the Indie Comics Report. It's our second week. We got a lot of great stuff to talk about today, a lot of stuff to dive into, and we're going to get into it a lot. We also got Chuck, who's going to be on the program in just a few minutes, and a lot of exciting things to talk about, but unfortunately, we're going to have to start in a place that we don't want to start. And Indie No was filmed yesterday, so that's why you see there. ICR is brought to you, by the way, by the Indie Advocates Network. So here we go. We're going to talk about something we have to talk about again, something I don't want to talk about, but it's not going away. And this is the evolutionine nonsense and all the stuff that's been going on with that. Now, I wanted to address it really quickly. I'm only going to take up about 5 minutes of the time today to talk about this because it does not deserve more than that. So a lot of people have been trying to give me a lot of information about Marcel. More stuff keeps coming out. It's been brought to our attention, many different things, but let's go over a few things. Now, first thing I want to go over right away is please do not send me his address or his personal information about his life or about his family. We're not doing that. We're not making this ugly. This is not going to happen. We're not going to put his address out so people can send him his information. That's not what we're trying to do. This is not a personal attack on a human being. I know there's a lot of emotions. I know people want to get really involved. And look, I know we don't always get along as human beings. It's okay not to be friends with each other. It's okay to dislike people. It's okay to dislike me if you want to. That's not what this is about. This is about holding someone accountable and being a person who is trying to rally against the creators that have been taken advantage of in this situation. This isn't about punishing someone. My job is not about punishing. My job is just about basically getting it out there that he's been taking advantage of people so no one else gets taken advantage of. I'm not trying to hurt people's Kickstarters, but listen, if you went out and you've decided to be part of his organization and start working on a project with him and you didn't do a Google search and you didn't check out who he was, I'm sorry, but that's not on me, and I'm not going to stop because it might affect your Kickstarter. Because you guys see as we're scrolling here, there have been people who haven't been paid, people who have been affected by the things he has done. This is not me trying to be mean, so don't make it that. I mean, if you want to come attack me, understand. I have a block option. I have a way to delete nasty comments. I'm not dealing with it. Look, in life, we can choose who to be. I grew up in a place where you basically had drama a lot of times forced on you, and it was sometimes a violent area to be part of. I don't want that in my life anymore. Sometimes I hear that older side of myself coming out. I'm not proud of that, and you shouldn't be proud of attacking people. Again, this is about accountability. If you guys have a real situation where something has happened, please let us know. We have not put up trolling comments that we have heard have been made, and I'm not going to put up nasty comments. And I've seen some comments go way too far, and they've been deleted from my page, and I'm just not going to enforce that. And that's why this week we're not actually going to do an update on it, because there was some ugly stuff, and I wanted people to know that there is a line, and we're not crossing it. So if you want to do something nasty, that's on you. It will not wind up on our site. This is about telling the truth about a creator. And that's really all I have to say. Be a good human being. And that's what this is about, trying to get him to do the right thing. If he delivers on every promise he's ever made, our problem with him instantly goes away. It's just that simple. Pay your creators, give the backers what you promised them, and be an ethical creator. And we're done with that. So it's really all I got to talk about with that. I want to introduce now and bring on to the show Chuck, who is here for better things than this. What's going on,
What's
Chuck?
up, guys?
So we did some house cleaning in the beginning of the show. We want to talk about some great stuff. We have great stuff about you today on the program about Eston's house, but we have even something like, not even to like, I mean, Chuck's awesome, but we have some really awesome news, don't we?
I think we do, absolutely.
With the Hall of Fame. Like, I've been teasing this for the last couple days. Now, before we go any further into it, for those who don't know, we're talking about the awards. The awards are going to have a Hall of Fame. Indie creators, and we've gone back and forth with some names, and even Chuck has been a little bit like, and you can see it right here with the Stan Lee. Chuck was pretty mad when Stan Lee got brought up to be put into the Hall of Fame. It was not one of his favorite ideas. And he's a Stan Lee fan.
I wouldn't say mad. I was just passionate, and I wanted people to understand why it was funny. Because even after I explained my reasoning, they were like, "You're wrong," blah blah blah. And I said, "Look, I understand that you feel that way, so just vote against me. Like what you've told me has not changed my mind. I'm not going to, if they came up with something that did change my mind, that's fine. I might do it, but they hadn't. So I'm like, just vote against me. Like that's all this is. My vote is literally as worthy as yours. So just go out there and say why I'm wrong, and I'm okay with that."
And what's funny is it was never meant to be a vote. It wasn't even meant to be in the first year. This was something going forward. Should we open the door to people like Stan Lee? Like one of the people who I'll be honest about that we're currently considering, because we have one more spot. I want to do 5 people a year and only 5 people a year. I think that's fair. You make it prestigious. 5's a good number. It's the amount of fingers I have in my hand, so it's easy for me to count to. So we're going to go with 5. One of the people I'm debating right now, and I'll be honest about who the next people are, because I want the audience to be involved in this. These are the names we have. Bill Finger. I know that sounds weird, but Bill Finger was also an independent creator before he was anything else. And the way he got screwed kind of shows creators to be careful and mindful. It's a little bit out of the box, but I do think he deserves more credit than he ever got through life. Gary Reed, we have been in touch with everyone we can about Gary Reed, and no one has been able to confirm us wanting him to be part of it. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle creators we wanted to put in together. Again, we have not been able to get in touch. We're not going to put anyone in the Hall of Fame. Even if they're not alive anymore, we want who's ever running their, what do they call it? When the estate, I guess? Their library. Who's ever in charge, we want them to give us the okay. So those are names we're still debating. And we might just go with 4 people this year. It's our first year. Some people have asked me what I saw the Hall of Fame becoming. You know what I'd like the Hall of Fame to become? A model that travels to all different cons throughout the year. Where people could sign it as it went. Like put little signatures on like parts of it. I think that'd be kind of cool. But ultimately, I don't know what the Hall of Fame will become down the road because it's about you guys. This is an idea I started, and I want to see where it goes. So I'm pretty excited about it. What do you think, Chuck? What would you like to see the Hall of Fame become?
You know what? I would like to see it become the best of all of us and what we would all strive towards in our kind of greatest dreams. So, but that's as indie creators.
But I mean, also, would you like to see it be a fixed place? Would you like to see it pop up and travel through cons as maybe like a model of a museum? Would you like to see it eventually be a museum?
I mean, that would be neat. It could certainly be neat to have like a pop-up museum or something that even travels to cons.
Yeah.
You know, the Indie Hall of Fame, it gets its own little booth and stuff. That I think that'd be very neat.
But it's not necessary. That's all like wish list stuff. This is more necessary to acknowledge someone. And do you know who my number one person I wanted in the Hall of Fame was the minute I started this?
I'm gonna guess, knowing you, was it McFarlane?
No, not even close. You ready to make the announcement? Like, he's a person I respect, but no, he wasn't even on my radar. McFarlane, I give him a lot of credit for image, but I'm on the side with Chuck. They kind of broke out after having money. And I love what they did, and I do think they have a spot in the Hall of Fame eventually. But I don't think they start in the Hall of Fame in the first year. And I reached out to McFarlane to get a temperature on it, because a lot of people from behind the scenes wanted McFarlane. There was one person I wanted. And actually, to be fair, there were 4 people I wanted. And on my wish list, out of the 4, I've now gotten 3. There was Buddy Scalera, he was the second name. Once I was like, I'm going to do a Hall of Fame, who should be the Hall of Fame? There was one person. I didn't even understand his life, and we're going to tell you who it is in 1 minute. I didn't understand how important he was. I recently read his biography or listened to it. Oh my God, the things he did blew my mind. The second person was Buddy Scalera, because there is nothing I've done without Buddy Scalera. He inspired me to do half of what I've done in my life. and all of what I've done for advocating. He was the inspiration behind it. So there would never be that. And of course, Roland Mann, you know Roland Mann.
Yes.
Yeah, Roland Mann. He was someone I wanted because of the Malibu stuff and his teaching, and he's also a teacher. And the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle creators. I really wanted them this year. I really, really wanted, especially with them coming back and all that. But again, that didn't work out. But I got my number one wish, so I'm not going to complain. You guys ready to see who's joining the Hall of Fame? And I'm going to show you the official email we got back. Actually, I'm just going to... Let me take 1 second because I don't want to share the email address. So we're going to go to a quick graphic on the show. I'm going to make sure on the email that this doesn't show their... no, their email address is public. I don't see anything. Do you see anything here, Chuck, we can't share? Maybe just the bottom part where the phone numbers are?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll hide that down when we bring the graphic back on. Should have looked at this before, kids, but that's on me. So let's see. There we go. Okay, so here it is. This is for Carl M. Grouper. We got in touch with the Will Eisner Studios Incorporated, and I'll bring that up so you guys can see it. And obviously, just mentioning the name, you know exactly who we're talking about. This is us getting permission to acknowledge Will Eisner. Thank you very much for the email and the kind offer. We'll be happy to accept on Will Eisner's behalf. He certainly started and ended his career as an independent creator and supported them throughout his life. And this is from Carl and Nancy, and I'm blown away. He was my number one pick, and at the time, I didn't even understand fully. I just knew how important he was. And remember, the Will Eisner Awards go on in New York Comic Con, and they used to be the Jack Kirby Awards. He is influentially one of the biggest people. Do you know a lot about Will Eisner? Have you read his past?
No, I know a fair amount, but not huge.
Oh my goodness, he's worked with them all, or knew them all on a personal level, like Stan Lee, Kirby. He worked with Kirby, and he stood up for creator rights. Very passionate man, great creator. I've gotten into his stuff because once you start learning about someone, and I feel like an idiot not knowing. I think every indie creator should honestly start by learning about him. He is like the grandfather of indie comics and gives birth in a lot of ways by inspiring other people to what would become underground comics because he winds up going to underground comics. And I remember there was a time where people were like, you should call Barbara Unleashed an underground comic. And I'm like, no, because I thought of underground comics as just porn because I was poorly educated. And now I understand underground comics aren't just that. They're literally going a place where you can get away with saying things that you normally can't. So I'm gonna go with Barbara Unleashed as an underground comic, but it takes getting to know Will Eisner to understand that, and I'm even more blown away because when I went to really think about the Hall of Fame, I did some research, and Chuck knows this. When this came up last January, and people were like, "You want to do an award show?" He knows I've quietly just been kind of sitting back and deciding how this award show would look. I spent a year cultivating a lot of it, and one of the things was a Hall of Fame. So when we got to Hall of Fame time, I remember I was asking Randy, he's one of the people who's been helping me from behind the scenes, and Randy was definitely like Will Eisner. He was with me on the top with Will Eisner, and I didn't have any of the Image guys, to be honest. I know they're important, don't get me wrong, but I don't think that they're necessarily the symbolism of what indie comics is. And when you actually read the history of indie comics, you realize that Image wasn't anything groundbreaking and new. It was just the thing that had the most money. And that's just the truth. It really is. They had the money to do something and nothing but love for it. Nothing but support. They did amazing stuff. But at the end of the day, we make a lot more out of it and not enough about Will Eisner, not enough about Jack Kirby and what he did early on, not about any of the early guys. I mean, underground comics that have been around longer. Like I hear all these people talking, and you saw this debate about the editors. I was dismayed, actually very upset to hear the responses of people saying you don't need an editor in comic books. And hearing Will Eisner's thing where Will Eisner figured out early on that they weren't editing and it was a problem, he instilled using an editor. It's like we forget these lessons as we move on in life. We forget that an editor is very important. I hear everyone go, oh, I don't have money for an editor. I was like, do you have money for the reletterer? And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, because when your book has to be re-edited, or edited for the first time, and then a letterer has to be paid again, you're going to be wasting money. And it's kind of sad that a letterer gets the same amount of page that you do as an editor. If not, sometimes less.
I was telling someone they needed like some last minute editing. And I said, yeah, okay, I can help you. And they're like, look, I don't have money to pay you. And I said, well, you're an artist, right? They're like, yeah. I was like, dude, each book is worth the same as like a cover or some concept art or something like that. And they're like, oh. I'm like, so why don't you do some art for me and we're good? And they're like, okay, awesome. It's like you can work something out with us, especially since, a lot of us have our own books. You could do some work for us. You could, there's a way around it. And yeah, if you don't want an editor, the biggest thing I hate is when people say, I don't want an editor because they're going to tell me how to do things. We don't have that power. Like, I don't even know how to explain that to you. It's your book. All we can tell you is, this works, this doesn't. You making the changes is up to you. I don't have that power. I can't walk into your book and say, no, we're not printing this, you need to change this. The most power I have is, these changes need to be made, and if you say no, then I can say, cool, but I don't want my name on the book. That's the most power I have. That's all I can do.
And it's also important to, and I said this, and I'm like, oh, the editor is going to come in and ruin it. Absolutely not. And Chuck has worked with me, and I'm not always the easiest person, and I'll admit it, to edit for, because I will push back. But when I push back, why am I pushing back?
You pushing back because you if you're going to be wrong, you want me to have to prove you wrong. You don't just want to say, okay, this is what it is. You're passionate about what you're creating. And so it means that if I want to prove my point, I have to prove my point, which is totally fine.
And when you prove your point, what happens?
And we make the change.
And I don't argue with it. I'm like, okay, cool. That makes sense. And that's what writers have to realize, and even artists. An editor's not there to make it their own. They don't get respect. There's no... we were talking about this recently. How do you prove how you've edited something to make it better? You're not going to release the and we can curse, so I'm going to say it because this is new that we can curse on here. You're not going to release the shitty version of the story so people can see what you did for it. So you guys are almost like an invisible talent that no one, like lettering. If you do lettering right, no one ever bitches about it. No one ever even talks about it.
Yeah.
And that's an editor. Well, if an editor does it right, no one talks about it.
Yeah. So what we can do is we can talk to our clients and say, hey, can I take a sample of what we worked with and show the changes that I made from the original script to the new one as a sample for someone new? So we can do that. I haven't really done it because no one has needed that from me so far. It's been very much me kind of riding off of my own work and my own reputation and whatnot. So I haven't had to worry about that. But I'm sure at some point someone's going to want to know, what work have you actually done? And then I'll have to
just
go back to some of you guys and be like, hey.
Just take one of my original scripts, put it in Grammarly so everything can turn red, and then show how it's not red next to it, and you'll be good. That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
This is Rob Anderson's before. This is after. Holy shit, that's such a great change.
I won't even show them the after. I'll just show them the before and say, hey, it didn't go out like that. And they're like, oh, damn. All right, yeah. You had to have worked hard.
I always make the joke at every Comic-Con that on Friday nights I know where you are. You're at the bar drinking because you had to edit my work that week. And I'm
actually usually at the bar on Monday nights.
But I don't just use you. We actually instilled going in and getting a proofreader because there's a lot of editing that happens in my books because of my dyslexia, and you're very patient with me, and I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. But yeah. I also thought that after you read it a couple times, it starts becoming second nature. And I was like, let's just add a proofreader on top. And adding that proofreader, I think, helped because it kind of caught, like, I don't see it. Like, people will find a mistake in a book that I've released, And I'm like, I don't point to it and I don't still see it. People don't understand that about dyslexia. Sometimes I just don't see it. And you've seen it where we had to work out a method where you literally tell me the sentence and where to look in
Yeah.
between, because otherwise I don't see it. And I don't think people understand the power of also the story editing. Sometimes an editor kind of shows that you've either made a mistake or you've had this ability to lose your audience. I mean, I don't think we've ever had a story editor issue outside of the why am I drawing on about the kids and the mummy. I think that was the only time that you had like a little bit of a why are you wasting this time, not realizing that I had plans for them.
Yeah, for the most part, you kind of, and I'm usually the same way. I don't have a lot of people kind of go over my story so much because I that's the part that I understand the most.
Yeah.
Though sometimes you'll have people come in and I think Travis has been really good about kind of coming in and going, hey, why is this person saying this? They don't know that yet. And it's like, oh yeah, okay. So just usually it's kind of smaller things like that, but I mean that's the stuff I love. And a lot of times, like I'm doing some editing right now where I've had to tell somebody, hey man, you can't do this because it doesn't make sense yet. The audience doesn't know this yet. And I'm like, oh. And the problem is that you as a writer often can't see the forest through the trees. You have the knowledge. Your audience doesn't. So you can't introduce something too early. You know what I mean? Like, it can really confuse people, especially if you talk about it like they know it. So, you know, there's a lot of that a lot of people just don't understand. I hate when people say, oh, I don't need an editor. I'm like, yeah, let me see your book. I'm really interested.
Yeah, I say that to people all the time. Like, and you know this, and we've talked about this on other videos, and you get this too, I'm sure. You get inboxes of people's work. They just send it to you. And then they go, I want your opinion. I've gotten to the point in my life, because I don't want to waste my time or their time. And I tell them, hey, heads up, if you really want me to read this, I'm going to be honest with you. And it's not to hurt your feelings. Instead, and I realize this now, early in my career as an advocate, I was more cheerleader than advocate. And that was a mistake I made. What I mean about that is that I wasn't honest with people. And I think that I kind of gave people a confidence that they shouldn't have had with their work. And I know it sounds horrible. Hold on. Don't hate me for it. And what I mean is that if I had been honest with them, I think I could have helped them become a better creator. Because they needed that push. They had that moment where, oh no, it's good, and I really didn't mean it was good. I just meant it was good that they had gotten a book done. And I figured they would grow, and they would learn. And I wanted to be that person. And I've realized, especially now, and this goes back to the whole, even the way that I kind of dealing with myself on social media now, I've gotten to the point in my career where I have people who look up to me. And I was kind of blown away by that, sometimes when I want to just punch someone in the face and I want to go online and have a fight, I realize I can't anymore because there are people looking up to me and looking to me as a leader. And as an editor, you're kind of the leader. You're kind of the person who's got to make sure the ship is going the right way. They're the person who has to be the least egotistical because everyone's feelings get hurt. I'm sure Chuck has gotten that email from me. Like, what do you mean that doesn't work? It works just fine. Explain yourself, peasant.
Well, I'm lucky because when people inbox me stuff, I can just say, dude, this is what I do for a living. Like, what you're asking me to do is what I charge people to do. So, no. I did have someone come to me and say, man, I want an editor at some point, but I want someone to look over my stuff. And I'm like, well, I can review your book, but it'll get reviewed whenever it gets reviewed. Like, I'll just throw it on the pile with everything else. And they're like, no, I really need it reviewed as quickly as possible, and I want to know all the bad stuff. And I was like, well, yeah, like, I don't do that on my show. And they said, well, is money an issue? I said, well, you know, yeah, kind of, because this is what I do for a living. They're like, hey, if I throw you blank dollars, will you just review the book, tear it apart, and tell me what you think? And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. So I did that, and that was very helpful to them.
Wait, can we start a business with that? Like, if there are people willing
I know,
to,
right?
like, shit, I can do that. Because I do that right now. That's what I'm fucking doing to people. And I'm not doing it to be mean. And I have people, you know what bothers me? I have people who send me the book after they had it edited. And I'm like, motherfucker, I should get a story editing thing here. Because I fixed that.
Dude.
That's me. I fixed that problem. Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
So if we can make that a business,
they should at least mention.
No, I don't get. There's at least 20 books out there that I'm part of that I'll never get credit for. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm more about making the money.
You deserve like a special thanks or something. Like I have a book coming up. I won't say which one, but I have a book coming up soon that I'm very proud of that I've been able to help out and talk through, and I'm getting a special thanks on it, and that means a lot to me. I wasn't the editor of the book, but the writer came to me and they would get my advice and ask for stuff, and then they told me, hey man, you're mentioned in the book. I wanted you to know that. And I was like, oh crap, that's not why I did it, but I really appreciate it. So I think if you do go to someone and you get their advice and stuff, you should give them some special, at least a special thanks go out to Rob Anderson. You don't even have to say why.
You know what? Maybe this is going to make me sound greedy. I'm an advocate for free, but when it comes to money, I'm a little greedy with how I get paid. I'd rather the money than the acknowledgement because I don't want to. Because, in the end of the day, I didn't create that. I don't want my name on it. Even as a letterer, sometimes there's stuff I've lettered that my name never got put on, and I don't care. And sometimes I don't talk about it. Like, there is 5 projects that you'll never know that I lettered. Nope, didn't use any unique things, that made sure it couldn't look like my editing work, did nothing I do that would point to me, but I did it for the person for a favor. I'm not mentioned in the book. As a matter of fact, the letterer who did the work is the one who got credit for my work, because I had to go in there and fix all their lettering mistakes. And I didn't care, because I didn't want my name on that thing for nothing. I was like, no, thank you. I don't want my name. And I helped a person, but I'll be honest. I'm not going to say who, so I can be totally honest about this. I told them what they needed to do was throw the book out and start over. I was like, this is not your best work. I was like, art-wise, because he was the artist. I'm like, art-wise, you can do better. You're putting out something that's beneath you. You're rushing it out. People are not going to like it. It's going to be poorly reviewed. I was like, I'm saying this. It was the first time I really saw the difference between being an advocate and being a cheerleader. And I turned to him and I said, trust me on this, it's not going to go well. It basically stunted their career when they didn't listen to me. Because they were charging for a book that just did not have the quality. And I stress this to people. We had an actual publisher, and again, I'm not going to name names, and we're going to get to Essence House, but I had a publisher, and it blew my mind. Chuck, stop me if I'm wrong here. But if, as an editor, you turn around and you tell people, I didn't have an editor for the first 3 years of my business. Okay, so why did you get an editor, I asked. The publisher said, I got it because it made my books better. I'm like, so wouldn't your advice be to everyone right now to use an editor right away in their career because it makes your product better? He's like, no, to be honest with you, I made money, so it wasn't a big deal. I'm like, but I'm trying not to blow you up here, and I'm trying to be nice. Understand, I'm respecting you as a publisher because I don't want you to look bad. But you're literally saying that you're putting out a product that wasn't as good as it could have been. So you made a choice. And I don't know how you are as a creator. There are some great creators out there who can edit themselves and do a damn good job. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. Just like there are people who can write and draw. There's always going to be people like that. But ultimately, an editor is always needed for that second set of eyes. But he literally said he was putting things out that was basically not as good as he could have put out. I don't understand that in my mind. And me and you have talked about this. I've looked back at my work now, and I'm always proud of what I've done, but I always see ways I could have made it better now. And that's just how it is with your work. And sometimes you want to go be, what's his name? Star Wars guy, George Lucas. You want to George Lucas your own work, go back and try to fix it, and because you do know better. But the thing we forget is we wouldn't know better if we didn't grow. So even when giving suggestions to people online, I try to be kid glove a lot more. And sometimes, but with the editor, there was no kid gloves. It was like, no, you're making a mistake. I know this. Yeah. I've never released anything. I've not even the free things I handed out at New York Comic Con that will wind up going in a book unedited, because I wanted people to see how the editing was originally, to see how my work has grown and changed. That's kind of the point of the book, is to show people how I've changed over the time. But even back then, I had people edit it and look over it. I think it's a fool's errand not to do it. But one of the things that I know is very polished and is being very edited is Essence House. And that's why you're here today. We went off on a tear about editing and stuff, because you're an editor, and I wanted people to feel the importance of editing, and this is Essence House. So not only am I a fan, but I am also a subscriber on Patreon. So talk to us about it.
Yes. Wow. So Essence House is a metaphysical mystery. I don't want to go into the story too much, just because I really I want people to just be excited about it. But what it is it's an old school audio drama, like the 1930s and 40s radio programs. But it's serial. So every episode leads into the next one. And it's basically about this guy, Tim Edmonds, and his family. They owned this huge property in this big manor called Essence House. And in the 90s, some really bad things happened, and the house ended up basically going into disrepair. And so it was torn down and turned into a strip mall. And so now Tim is coming back to his family after all these years, after being away from them, and he's running the strip mall. And when he gets there, all sorts of weirdness ensues, and he needs to start to understand why. And so all I tell people is check out the first issue. If the first issue doesn't grip you and excite you, or the first episode, sorry, then it's probably not for you. But it's got a lot of really cool elements in it that we are slowly bringing out and slowly showing off, so I don't necessarily want to talk about them. But we're on the third ep. Go ahead.
I was going to say, let's talk about the group. Let's talk about the creators behind the magic.
Okay, so the creators are Eric Cockrell and myself. Eric came to me about a year ago, and over a year ago now, and he wanted to create a series of novels based around Essence House. And we were going to create these novels for NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month. And we started, but there wasn't a lot of traction, and it just kind of died. And then he came back to me this year, just before NaNoWriMo, and he said, do you want to do it again? And I was like, I love the story idea. And we started talking about it, and then we realized maybe it would be better as an audiobook. And then we realized maybe it would be cooler if we had episodes. And so it slowly turned into what it is now. And so the way it goes is that the whole story actually starts on January 1st, 2020. And so we launched it January 1st, 2020. And now we released an episode. Then the next week we do a Talking Dead after show style episode that talks about the episode, kind of, unearths the mysteries behind it, the behind the scenes stuff, lets fans kind of ask questions and talk and show off their theories. And then the week after, we air the next episode. And so we're going to keep doing it like that, where we air an episode one week, the after show the next week, and then the next episode the week after. Where the Patreon comes in is that the series is available on, pretty much all audiobook platforms that we can even think of or have been able to find. And if you can think of any that we're not on, let us know and we'll get on it. But it's on just a dozen or so platforms easily. It's just ridiculous. But what we do now is the episode comes out, so the first two episodes and the first two after shows were free for everybody to check out and enjoy. And now what happens is the third episode is up for Patreon users only. And tonight, actually, myself, Eric, and our after-show host, Jess Rogie, who is an absolutely amazing YouTube hostess, we're going to record this week's after show. We're going to put it on the Patreon, and the after shows now are only for Patreon users. And the episodes, they show up 2 weeks earlier on Patreon. So the show will show up on Patreon, then the after show, and then the week later, you will get to be able to see the show on any other of the on any other of the free platforms. So if you want to see the series early and you want to get the after shows, it's $2 a month.
That's not bad at all, and that's why I took advantage of it. Because not only is Chuck there, but I mean, the fact that it's a radio drama, it's kind of cool. Now, here's my question, too, because I've had kind of a problem with this. I'm on Patreon. Can I get this to go? Is there, like, a downloadable way to have this on my phone?
I'm not certain, to be honest, but I can talk to Eric about doing that.
Yeah, like maybe, because where can they find it right now? Is it just on Patreon?
So the actual, like, to be able, like, episode 3, yes, is only on Patreon. All the other episodes, though, are on any of the major places that you can find podcasts. So you can find it on the Google Store, on the Apple Store, on Buzzsprout, iHeartRadio, Spotify, like whatever. We actually have, you can even talk to your Alexa and say, Alexa, I want to hear the first episode of Essence House, cling, and she'll play it for you.
Here's Essence House from Apple Podcasts. Chapter 1,
Yes.
Acquaintance We Forgot.
I don't know, she didn't play it, but that's cool that it even did that.
Did she do that from me saying it?
Yeah, I didn't. That wasn't me. I did not ask her to do that. She's funny. She's on the show a lot more and more. She's going to become my sidekick soon. Soon she's just going to be like, Rob, stop being stupid. But yeah, now, all right, so Essence House is here. How many episodes are we going to be looking for?
So the first season has 10, and then we'll move on to the second season. We have pretty much decided that we're going to do at least 2 seasons and give it give it what it deserves, and we'll see what people think from there. So we have it written as being at least 2 seasons, but we have a lot more that in store for people if it takes off and people enjoy what we're doing.
So wait a minute, you're telling me that you guys have been renewed?
Well, I mean, it's us. We're paying for everything, so we've renewed ourselves. Yes.
Oh, Chuck, you should have just gone with yes. Yes would have been the better
I know,
way. You went way too far into that. Yes, the executives behind this have decided that there will be a season 2.
Everybody. We took it to the guys up top, and they said, "Yep, we're going to renew you for a second season."
They greenlit a second season. That's pretty cool. Obviously, you guys should check it out. It's on our site. Chuck's going to be putting it on every time it drops. But you're going to have to pay, and it's only $2. That's not bad. That's $2 a month. You get the after show, which the creators get around and sit and talk about it, right?
Yeah, and the after show will not be available anywhere else. So the only people who have access to the after shows now are Patreon users.
And that is awesome. Now, one of the things that's also awesome, since Chuck's on the show, we got to talk about the awards are coming to an end. I'm trying to get Chuck to come on with me for the show. It'll be on the 16th of February. Calling up my calendar here. We're going to see if we can get Chuck to come on live with us. As you see, I actually don't have a show. I do have one the 15th, but I'll be free the 16th. We will be asking people if they want to go in the middle of the day or at night. I believe that weekend Jax is with me, so night would be better for me. I expect it to be an hour, maybe an hour and a half show, to be honest. I don't want it to be terribly long, but we want to talk about the Hall of Fame, obviously. We also want to talk about maybe even inviting some people to come on, show some videos about who's winning. We still got to figure a lot of this out. This year has always been about learning and learning curve. One of the reasons I'm bringing it up is look who's up for Reviewer of the Year.
Oh, you.
Not only is he up for Reviewer of the Year, and here's the hard part, and we talked about this, and I told Chuck this, it's very hard to put up Editor of the Year. I don't know how we could have that as an award. Doesn't mean we're not going to try. We might go with testimonials. It might come down to letting us as an award show have the editors send us testimonials from the people that they work for, and have the panel of judges look through those testimonials, because we want to acknowledge everyone, including letterers. Ultimately, we want it to be a bigger show, and we want to. This got a lot of attention, and I'm very proud of that fact. So I want it to continue to grow and something be bigger and better. So I mean, we let it get cool for a little bit, specifically because I didn't want to talk about it every day, and it felt like we were kind of pushing it, and there were a few ugly moments, so we kind of let it cool. People have been still joining. People have been still voting. Chuck is up to, I believe, 26 votes for Review of the Year. We're going to be sharing every one of these categories. What have you felt about this awards process? Because you're someone we've talked about it in the past, and you've been part of it as far as being nominated, and you've seen some of the things going on. How have you felt this has gone?
I think it's like anything else. It's got growing pains. It's not going to be perfect, especially in year one. So if you expect it to, then you're ridiculous. But I think that you've worked really hard to be as fair as possible. And sometimes that means doing things that people aren't happy about. But, I mean, it's all about trying to be fair and trying to have the best final product as possible. I think... so often there's so many of us who've been around for a little bit who are like, man, we've seen awards show up and it's just an ego show. And this one doesn't feel like an ego show near as much. I feel like, I mean, even especially for myself, there were some things where I didn't even mention myself in, because I was like, I don't deserve that yet. I don't feel like I've earned it, and so I don't even want to try. And I see that in other places where some people have put their names in, but it's obvious they haven't pushed it as hard, because, they're like, I would love to be in the conversation, but I'm not sure that I deserve it, So, even, in behind the scenes, seeing some of the people who have been nominated and whatnot, you really do see some amazing stuff happening, and the cream rising to the top. So,
and I think that's important. And when we started this, honestly, I did not expect it to become as big as it did. Looking at it as we're scrolling, we've had people get hundreds of votes. We, I think, have 1,000 members almost in this group. And a group is not easy to get 1,000 people in this day and age of Facebook. So people clearly wanted something that felt like it wasn't this, like you said, the normal creator awards or friend awards where it's a circle jerk, and it's just the truth. Where people have just, and everyone wants to, and I'll never forget, and I won't say who said it, but it was the most disgusting thing, and I came to you about it because I was so fucking mad. We were talking about the Hall of Fame, and a person wanted it because they made a comic book. They had 3 issues.
Oh, yeah.
And they thought they deserved to be in the Hall of Fame. I was livid. I was like, am I fucking crazy? Is this me, or is this just the most insulting shit you've ever heard? And you hear me cursing. That's how upset I am about it.
It's funny because I remember that. It pissed me off because I didn't want to even put my book into some of the awards because I didn't think that I had deserved it yet, especially compared to some of the other books that I saw in there. And for this person to take that gigantic leap to not only insert their book, but then to say, I deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, like, fuck you. That's ridiculous. Who the fuck are you? And I mean, it's not an attack on the person, because I do obviously know the person and I like them, but it's like, come on, think about it. We're talking about people like fucking Will Eisner, and you want to put your name in with that lot, you're not there. Like, you're not even close to there. And so, and none of us are. So why you would want to do that? You're like, oh, I've worked in the industry for 5 or 10 years. Yeah, that ain't shit. That's not shit. These people put their lives into it. Look at the people we have now. I don't think there's anyone who has put in less than like 30 years. That is worthy of being in a Hall of Fame.
Yep, it's people who have had decades in it, and
Yeah.
I mean, it all goes back to this, and I'm not going to mention the scenario. You'll know it because we talked about it. But there was someone who literally turned around and said that something I had said was based upon the fact that I was jealous of their success. And Chuck saw what I said. I was like, jealous of your success? I was like, I'm jealous of Stan Lee and Will Eisner. They are the people I want to beat. They are the people I look to. You aren't a blip on the radar. I think too many indie people, especially when it comes to Kickstarters, you see this. A person raises $10,000 on Kickstarter and thinks they're hot shit. I make comic books. I know that $10,000 isn't anything. Realistically, you're celebrating something, and I'm not trying to say that's not an accomplishment. Yes, it is, but not the ego that you get after it. A lot of these people don't realize it's just money. It's the fan base. It's the invitation to different Comic-Cons. It's the acknowledgments from your peers. It's people talking about your work that is more important than this financial thing that you can publicly boast about. And I have some friends who run Kickstarters who are competitive with each other, and I don't understand it. I'm happy to make a $100 goal and cover my printing costs to get the books in my hand to get them into readers' hands. I'm always going to be that creator. You know? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with crowdfunding or big goals. I'm just saying, good, you raised $10,000. What'd you do with it? That's what I want to see. What did you do after you raised the money? Show me what you did after it. Yes, that's a step. That's an important step. But what did you do with it? If you didn't do much with it, then really what did you succeed at? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely it does.
Because, I mean, I'll give credit. I will absolutely give credit to a few people. Dirk Manning. Look what Dirk Manning does. Not only does he succeed, but then he throws all these bunch of cool incentives in. That makes him go broke, and he goes into debt. And I'm sure his publisher hates him because he keeps giving back to his fans, because he understands that's what's important. Not the money he raised, but acknowledging his fans. He canceled a Kickstarter because he knew he could do something better and different. And he was like, you know what? He'd made his goal. He had made over his goal. He had doubled his goal. And he still pulled the plug on his Kickstarter because he knew that in 12 months, he could give a better, superior product by adding more stuff to it. That's an accomplishment. That's the type of person I want to be as a creator. I don't care how much money I raise on Kickstarter. I will never care about that as long as I'm making the amount of money I need to keep creating. You know, ultimately, that's it. And to be honest, some of those viral campaigns scare me. I hear about it later, how people lose thousands of dollars trying to do the shipping because they miscalculated. I'm terrified of a viral campaign. My last campaign, everyone was like, Rob, how did you raise so much money? I didn't hear you talk about your campaign once. I remember you said to me one day, hey, why don't you go promote that Kickstarter you have? And I'm like, I've made enough. I don't need any more, sir. Because it was meant to be like just a little bit to print, and I found a lot of support, and I was blown away by the support I got. And I'm just afraid a little bit too much of that type of success because I don't respect it as much as I respect the readers. And when you tell me stories about being on the road, about the kids picking up Cat Dad, that matters more to me.
Yeah.
You know, ultimately it's about that to me. And people can say I'm wrong, and they do. I have friends who absolutely think that Kickstarter makes them a badass. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a difference of opinion. And I think, me and you talk about this. It's okay to disagree with each other. Me and Chuck don't always agree on subjects, but we just, okay, cool. And we walk away. Why does everyone have to be a giant baby about people not agreeing with them?
Yeah.
You know, I don't understand it. You're Canadian. You're so nice. Like, more people need to be Canadian nice. Because most people, you've seen some of the things that have happened in the last couple weeks. Like, people are coming out of the woodwork with their stupid. And there is no nice way to put that. That is the nice way to put what I've dealt with in the last couple weeks. Have you dealt with a lot of hate now? Actually, you're like the indie darling. Have you ever gotten yourself into...
I've tried to fight that title a little bit, but I really don't get a lot of flack. And when I just, you know what? I just kind of keep myself out of it. Like, even like, if people notice when the debates come up and stuff, I'm not in them a lot. A lot of it is, honestly, I'm going to sound like a dick, but I don't think any of you motherfuckers know how to debate. That's the honest truth. Because you walk into a fucking debate saying, this is the answer, and I'm going to make everyone believe that. That's not how you debate, you fucking idiot. A debate is when you go in there and you say, this is what I believe, and this is why I believe it. And someone says, okay, well, counterpoint, I think you're wrong here because of this. And you go back and forth until you find out the real truth. But by walking in and thinking you already have the truth, it's not a fucking debate. I want to find the real truth in there. And I don't see that. It's just a bunch of people, on the internet, people don't know how to debate. They just want to be right. And the difference is that I want to be right by first finding out that I'm wrong so that I can become right. And I don't want to engage in a debate with you if you're not going to listen to what I have to say, and we can build upon that. So, yeah, I tend to stay out of that stuff a lot and just kind of do my work. And every once in a while, it's funny, like I'll put up something, and I'll put up even what I think are innocuous posts. And people will be like, oh, I totally disagree. This is absolute crap, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's right. I spoke, and now people are they're going to say shit because that's all they like to do. So I don't even necessarily talk about stuff a lot. I put up my stuff, I do my thing, I try to make people happy, and then I move on. Because if you want to learn, you'll come to me and we'll have that talk. If you don't, you're not my kid. I don't have to raise you.
It's very true, and I definitely, oh man, I get what you mean. I share things like, because I do the debates. Now everyone thinks anything I share is a fucking debate. And I don't understand that. I specifically have posts that go, hey, Florida community, let's do this. And then someone comes in and starts trying to fucking debate. It's like, no, this isn't a debate. This is my real life. Not every one of my posts is now up for you to just start an argument and have a debate about shit. And I spend half of the debates actually very quiet and asking the devil advocate. I rarely take a stance in the debates because the whole point of me doing the debates was to get people to start talking to each other. And for the most part, I got to give people credit. They have started talking to each other better. And I know people have gotten together and actually begun to work together after meeting each other. But I still delete comments all the time about people saying nasty things to each other. And I tell them, go take a time out. And I know who's my friends because when I tell them to go take a time out, they're the ones who go take a time out. They're the ones who go, okay, Rob, I'm heated. I'm going to walk away. I'm not going to get into it. Because I do think you're right. And, I mean, I'm guilty of it sometimes where I punch back when I shouldn't. And I've told you recently I need to step back a little bit and become a better person and not get into the stupid shit. Like, when people are baiting me, I can't answer quickly just to get it done. And I have to start thinking about what I'm saying a lot more, I guess. Because sometimes I say something quick and I meant, sometimes, I'm sarcastic. Half the shit I say sometimes will be a little bit of sarcasm. And it gets lost online, and that's on my fault. But you see people like try to pound back so hard that by the time you show back up, there are 25 comments made. It's like, what the fuck? I was gone a half an hour. What did you do while I was gone? And you'll see people, and I have this, and it's horrible. I have two people who I really do admire and really think are good people shitting on each other. And if they only knew each other, they wouldn't do it. And that's the worst part of it for me. And that's the part, and I can't stress this enough. There are people I can message and say, you're shitting on the wrong person. Believe it or not, you get along. You're on a different side. Take a breath, look at what you say, and really think about it. And then if you want to come back, do, but don't come back like a dick again, or I'll kick you out. And they'll say, yeah, Rob, you're right. I am sorry, I got too heated. And then there's another group who will tell you, like you said, I'm fucking right no matter what. You're just taking sides. And meanwhile, I'll have said it to both people. So there are days, dude, I debate whether I should even have the debates. Because sometimes I think that I could put up something that I don't even mean to be a fucking debate that winds up becoming this thing about politics. And that's what I take out of the threads the most is political shit. And I don't have time to weed through fucking politics. Tell me how an editor became about politics. The editor post. I don't understand how we got to politics in that.
I didn't even see it. I didn't like. I read a little bit of it, but then I kind of walked away.
No one would have saw it. I actually caught it right away. And a lot of times people don't see what gets said because I catch it right as it pops up and I delete it. And I get called all the time. Oh, Rob's censoring it. Yes, with the debates, I censor a lot of that because, like you said, it's supposed to be difference of opinions. It's supposed to be people defending their what is it what is the word
Free speech?
No, I can't say the word. It's my dyslexia. It's basically what your position is. You're supposed to have facts and be able to talk about it. And we'll just have people who come in and it's just nasty, and I don't understand it half the time. I really don't. And sometimes you've seen me come to you like, Chuck, did I say something wrong here? Because I don't get it sometimes. I'll admit I'm socially awkward. I don't see it. Sometimes I don't understand the tone, and I ask my friends like Chuck. I'll ask Travis. I've asked Joel in the past. I've asked other friends, hey, was I wrong with this one? And I don't pick people. I pick you when it's something I know that I can trust you with. I pick the people I believe will have the best, knowledge of what I'm talking about. Like with Travis, if it's a comic book related thing, I'm like, am I wrong? Because I know he still reads all the comic books, So I go to people who are smarter than me, and that's the truth. I surround myself with some pretty smart people who are better than me, and that's what you're supposed to do. And then help the people below you rise up with you, right?
Yeah.
Some ugly people, and the awards, I don't think were ugly for the most part. I think we had a couple moments of people making it something it shouldn't have been, but I think in the end of the day, here's the Todd McFarlane one. Todd McFarlane, again, was one of those things we had to delete things because someone took Todd McFarlane. No, who was it? Not McFarlane, the other guy. Liefeld. Liefeld got brought up about how he's Comicsgate now. And that opens a door for a dumb conversation. Because now everyone wants to talk about Comicsgate. I don't understand it, Chucky. I don't.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like, I know Facebook's been having issues lately, but like, why don't people just talk about each other's creations? And I'm nervous. I'll end the show saying this. I am nervous about the future with all this impeachment stuff. Because since the impeachment started, people have been nastier again. I don't know if you've seen the uptick, but I have. I've stayed out of a lot of people's threads for that very reason. Like in the last couple of weeks, I haven't commented on a lot of people's stuff because people are just so heated right now and wanting to clobber each other. I don't even think they see each other anymore.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, things have been very heated. And it's just a politically charged season and everything. And so, it's tough.
So, take us out of the show on a positive note. Tell us where we can find you, what's next, and where's your next show?
Heck yeah, okay. My next show is, let's find me first. You can find Aslan's House at aslanshousestory.com. You can find my works at bonfirepress.com or Belial Comic. Facebook.com/bonfirepress or Facebook.com/Belial Comic. You can also find me on YouTube at Chuck's Raw Reviews. You can find me on Facebook, Chuck Pino, Pineau. You can find me at Twitter at Chucky Pin. And man. We're still pumping out Essence House episodes. Episode 4 is already done and recorded. Episode 5 is being written. Episode 6 is being written. We have it all set up. So you've got so much goodness coming with that. I would really love to hear from people and see what you guys think. Play it on. It's a 20-minute listen, so play it on your car ride or whatnot. We're working on Belial. I've got an anthology I'm working on. The next Welcome to the Void, I'm finally pushing off the back burner and making that happen. So this year's going to be a pretty Chucky year, and I'm also editing a lot of stuff. So, and what? Oh, yeah, my next Comic-Con is in April in New Braunfels, Texas at Hill Country Comic-Con.
Now, that's your second year?
April 4th and 5th.
Is that your second year with that one? All right. I look forward to hearing about that. And make sure you remind me so I can put it up on the Comic Convention Highway. So I have it
Absolutely.
listed because, I want to do some updates for that. I want to thank you for taking the time to hang out with us today. And we're going to definitely be having conversations about the awards and all that stuff. So when we leave the show today, I'm going to let him say the way out, because I think he's got the message that we all need to hear and started hearing to a little bit more. So go ahead, Chuck. Sign us off.
My name is Chuck, and I give a fuck.
No, you know the one I'm talking about. Your usual sign off.
Oh, peace, love, and comics.